Max Spiers, a conspiracy theorist who died under pretty dark and mysterious circumstances. What are the details surrounding his death? What did he claim to know, and who may have wanted to shut him up?
So who is this guy? Well, he was a British conspiracy theorist who became well known for his claims about UFOs, secret government programs, and mind control experiments. He was born in 1976 in Canterbury, England, and from a very young age he was interested in the paranormal and unexplained. As he grew older, he delved deeper into these subjects, eventually becoming pretty steeped in the conspiracy theory community. Max often spoke at conferences and appeared in interviews where he shared his belief that he'd been part of a secret military experiment, specifically something known as Project Mannequin. So this alleged program was said to involve mind control, genetic manipulation, and the creation of super soldiers. Max claimed to have first-hand experience with these activities and believed that his life was constantly under threat because of the information that he possessed. The stuff he talked about was pretty outlandish, like how his body had been altered by the government when he was young in an attempt to turn him into a super soldier. Look, if Dwayne Johnson came out saying he'd been bred as a super soldier, I'd probably believe it, but this guy, I don't look at him and think super soldier. I think maybe a guy who wants to be a super soldier, which is pretty much every guy, but he claimed his abilities were less to do with physical strength and more to do with the mind, to be fair. More on that from Hannah.
Alright, now that we know who Max is, let's talk about what he claims to have been a part of. Project Mannequin, a top secret government project dedicated to creating and training some of the world's best soldiers, as James mentioned, with capabilities beyond the bounds of our current understanding of the world. The project is run by the NSA, the United States National Security Agency, and training starts in the early stages of an individual's life. Future soldiers are either purchased or outright taken from their parents and brought to an underground bunker in Berkshire in southern England. They are then subjected to trauma-based mind control that eventually allows the NSA to essentially break and rebuild their minds, turning them into obedient killing machines. It is then that these involuntary soldiers begin learning skills someone like you or I could only ever dream of: telepathy, magic, and a complete conscious awareness and understanding of the world and the universe as a whole. Which might sound pretty cool, but Max claimed that this heightened state of awareness left him open to astral attacks, which plagued him throughout his adult life. The details on how Max managed to escape his captors and the facility where he had been held for so many years are pretty murky, but Max claims it was a combination of personal awakening, psychological resilience, and external intervention.
In July of 2016, Max was found dead in Warsaw, Poland, lying on a couch. He was just 39 years old, and ever since his death, there's been a ton of speculation as to exactly what happened. And there's a lot of things that just don't seem to add up. Max had been in Poland to speak at a conference. He was staying with a friend when he suddenly became very ill. Authorities claimed he'd overdosed on Xanax, but some believe there was foul play involved. Max had often spoke about feeling threatened because of the information he claimed to know. His mother, Vanessa Bates, received a text from Max just days before his death, which read, "Your boy's in trouble. If anything happens to me, investigate." So this, combined with the strange circumstances of his death, led many to suspect that he'd been silenced by those he was trying to expose. The Polish authorities initially ruled his death as a natural cause, but his family demanded they look more into it. But to this day, they've never gotten a satisfying answer as to what really happened.
I feel like when it comes to conspiracy theorists, there is one surefire way to tell that A, their death was not an accident, and B, there is at least some truth to what they've been going on about for the past, in this case, 16 years or so. And that is having their entire computer and SIM card wiped clean. Yeah. In the days that followed the mysterious death of Max, his laptop computer was returned to his mother Vanessa, but when she opened it to confirm that all of his work, collecting information about the secret government-run project that had taken away the majority of his childhood, was still accessible, she noticed that every single file and folder had been deleted, and she soon realized that the same thing went for his mobile too. Why? Well, Vanessa had a theory. There was information on the devices that someone didn't want getting out. This is the same reason Vanessa believes her son died or was killed rather. He found something, some kind of proof that would expose the whole damn operation, and he planned on sharing it very soon. But he never got to because they couldn't let that happen, and for his discovery, Max paid the ultimate price.
So as Hannah mentioned earlier, Max claimed to be subjected to astral attacks throughout his life, especially in the months leading up to his death. He believed these attacks were being carried out by unseen forces to stop him from exposing what he knew about Project Mannequin. So during his seminar in Warsaw in April of 2016, he mentioned that people were trying to prevent him from reaching the Polish capital and delivering his speech. He described these astral attacks as direct assaults on his spiritual and physical well-being. And in Max's final interview in July of 2016, just before his death, he claimed to be under attack at that very moment, telling the interviewer that his face felt like it was on fire and that he had a crushing sensation around his throat. Now, I think it's important to mention here that a lot of people close to Max were worried about his mental health. He's also known to have issues with illicit substances, something you gotta keep in mind with stuff like this. Just check on the people around you. It's very important.
Another strange thing about the death of Max is what happened to his body after he died. Just 6 days after Max died in Poland, his body was transported back to the UK, and his family made a formal request to view the body. While this normally wouldn't be an issue, Max had been dead for a total of 6 days and completely sealed in a coffin during the majority of that time, authorities told Max's family that the decomposition of his body was already so advanced that it was not a good idea for them to view him, as they likely wouldn't recognize him anyways. Max's sister didn't care. She insisted on seeing him, something she would likely later come to regret. She described Max's face as having grown so dark that she truly was unable to recognize him as her brother Max. He was in a state of decay that should have taken at least 3 weeks. It just didn't make any sense. And the coroner's report was no help either, seeing as it was ultimately inconclusive. A year later, coming around to the idea that foul play might have possibly been involved in Max's death, British authorities launched an inquest to help the coroner establish cause of death. 2 years after that, 3 years after Max's death, it was determined that he died from substance abuse and pneumonia. Sounds like a load of crap, but hey, if the doctors working on the case want us to think they're so dumb that it took them from 2016 to 2019 to do a blood test and take a look at the guy's lungs, so be it. I'm not buying it though.
Max struggled with several mental health issues throughout his life. He was known to have battled various addictions, frequently checking into rehab facilities. He also suffered from extreme anxiety and depression. There were also claims that he dealt with more severe mental health conditions. Emails surfaced from a mystery woman known only as Madeline, who stated that he'd suffered from paranoid schizophrenia and had personality disorders. Now, if this is true, it would definitely help explain his feelings of paranoia. A lot of people close to him were reportedly aware of the stuff he was going through, mental health wise. The question is though, who is this Madeline person? Is this a friend or family member of his that wanted to remain anonymous? Well, a lot of Max's followers of course think there may not have been a mystery woman at all, and that the emails were just forged in order to discredit him. Based on all this evidence here, I definitely think something fishy was going on. I don't know if he was part of a super soldier secret project myself.
Let's circle back to Max's death for a moment, but more specifically, the moments directly before he died. You see, something I didn't mention is that when the doctors arrived at the scene of Max's death, it quickly became clear to them that in the hours leading up to his demise, Max had lost quite a fair amount of fluids. In fact, he had regurgitated approximately 2 liters of black or dark brown liquid. His mother Vanessa believes that this is a clear indication that Max was in fact poisoned because of what he knew. She argued that this would also explain why Max had suffered from an intense fever in the final 24 hours of his life. Furthermore, Vanessa thought that whoever wanted Max dead likely poisoned him over many days because his overall health had taken a sudden and sharp decline in the days immediately leading up to his death. Many people share in Vanessa's speculation, especially because a lot of other things about the case of the death of Max just simply do not add up. And of course, other people believe that what came out of Max did so as the result of a satanic ritual carried out by the supreme alien overlords. But more on that in a moment. For now, Take it away, James.
Another unsettling detail about Max's death involves a mysterious mark on his forehead. So Max's mother discussed a photograph of her son taken at the morgue, which she described in a BBC documentary about his death. So in the photo, a red mark was clearly visible on his forehead. It looked like a burn mark about the size of a fingerprint. What was strange is that this mark wasn't mentioned in any of the emergency or medical reports. These reports were thoroughly reviewed, and there was no indication of this mark being present when he was found or during the initial examination. So why? Was this a sign of foul play that had been covered up? Given the controversial subjects that Max discussed, it's not surprising that this detail has been pointed to by people who think he was silenced for what he knew. But there is another possibility, that something happened to Max's body after his death.
Did somebody say satanic ritual? Oh yeah, I did. About 2 minutes ago. Let's talk about it. Apparently, after Max's death, a witness, Monica Duval, who was also the last person to have seen him alive, saw something strange. There were people in Max's house that appeared to be performing some kind of ritual. She heard them chanting and saying words like salt and, for some reason, milk. She could tell that there was definitely something going on, but she couldn't be sure of what. I mean, they were either performing a ritual or baking a cake, both of which are very odd things to do after someone dies in a mysterious way and is also covered in black fluids. Many people believe that the ritual was done in an attempt to harness Max's life energy. I mean, he was telepathically trained and, according to himself, had achieved a full conscious awareness, so that would, be a pretty good life force to obtain, I suppose. Other people believe that the ritual was satanic in nature, perhaps the ending to whatever started many days before and ultimately led to Max's untimely demise. For now, any theory about Max's death is simply speculation, and unless Polish investigators, the NSA, and Monica Duval decide to reveal any more information about Max, what he really knew and how he really died, it seems as though it's going to stay that way. Forever.
Well, with that said, we're gonna catch you guys in the next one. Leave your thoughts and comments down below about this case.
Yeah, try not to join any cults. Cheers.